Good evening. Welcome to the City of Sugar Land City Council meeting for Tuesday, February the 18th. Going to do something a little bit different on the agenda tonight. In a minute, I'm going to invite the ladies up from Girl Scout Troop 19440, and they're going to help us in the pledge to the nation's flag and to the Texas flag. And then we're going to go into executive session. So we'll recess, go into executive session, come back out, do the invocation, and then we'll start our normal agenda. So at this time, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Troop 19440. Their troop is focusing on the Bronze Award this year and are working with child advocates of Fort Bend to bring awareness about child abuse. Girls have learned survival skills in the woods, learned about different jobs that the emergency services do, like our firefighters, and they've learned to give back by creating things for the animal shelters and creating gardens in our parks. And I guess they're hoping as part of this for these young ladies to be strong-minded, independent women with the support of the families and the communities. So at this time, I'm going to invite Troop 19440 to come down in front and join me and the Scoutmasters. Come on down, girls. Welcome. Who wants the microphone? There we go. Got some takers. Nation's flag right up here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Get the girls kind of move together, Scoutmasters on each end, and we'll just let the council members stay up there. I think it'll be easier. This time we're going to go to item number 2, closed executive session. 2A, closed executive session is authorized by 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with 551072, deliberation regarding real property. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and recess into the council dining room. When we finish with business there, we'll come back out and proceed with the rest of the agenda. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and reconvene the City of Sugar Land City Council meeting for Tuesday, February the 18th. First item on the agenda is the invocation by our council member, Stuart Jacobson. Stuart?
Thank you, Mayor. You might have noticed that on the agenda, William Ferguson was scheduled to do the invocation, but Sunday night I couldn't go to sleep and all these thoughts came flooding into my head, and so I had to get up and write them down. And when I wrote them down and I looked at them, I realized that I had written an invocation. So if you would please just give me your grace as I go through something that I wrote completely on my own without assistance of the internet. Blessed be all who are gathered here this evening in service of our city. Let us make decisions and cast votes in the way that each of us knows in our hearts will strengthen our city for many years to come, and not for short-term or personal goals. Let us embrace our first responders, our employees, and all who volunteer to serve our city. Let us also embrace our critics and those who want to or need to be heard, but feel that they have no voice. Let us embrace those among us who are hurting and need the support of our community. Let us do our duty this evening in service of all of our citizens, without regard to any individual characteristics other than that they reside or work in Sugar Land. We ask for the courage and guidance to accomplish these tasks from whomever or wherever each of us seeks our strength. Amen.
Amen. We're going to move on now to item number 3, public comment. I have 3 people that have signed up to speak. I'll take these first 3. If you haven't signed up to speak, there's certainly time to, we're not going to hold you to it. You can fill out a form and you'll be allowed to address the council for 3 minutes. Our first guest tonight is Peter Jacob, and Peter wants to speak on item number 4B. Peter?
Good evening, Mayor Zimmerman and City Council members. My name is Peter Jacob, and I live in Sugar Creek at 3019 Montford Court. I'm speaking to you tonight as both a proud 30-year resident of Sugar Land and as a commercial real estate developer fortunate enough to develop projects within the city of Sugar Land. Having the pleasure of speaking before City Council on many occasions as a citizen as well as a commercial real estate developer, I've always found the city representatives sitting on the dais to be true representatives of the citizens of Sugar Land. The development of this city has been a collective effort between the City of Sugar Land, public servants, staff, the citizens in both residential and commercial developers to create a city which represents what government and its citizens can create when planned in a thoughtful, methodical manner. I'm hopeful this relationship will continue for years to come, but as in any relationship, when something does not appear to be in the best interest of the citizens, it is imperative those citizens' voices are listened to openly without prejudice. Consent agenda item 4B, City of Sugar Land Resolution number 2516 is troublesome to me. The proposal is to acquire approximately 38 acres of land, in my opinion, creates a perception the City of Sugar Land is benefiting the 2 owners of this land through the purchase of these tracts due to the inability to move the needle more than proposed plans, promises, and hyperbole. Over the years, Cherokee Sugar Land LP, along with SLP 90A, have attempted to create a mixed-use development on these tracts with no success. Sugar Land has Sugar Land Town Square, where we are today, a mixed-use development which has struggled over the years to remain at a high occupancy. You may recall I worked with Les Newton and Steve Eubank with SPI and PCD on the Sugar Land Town Center, and prior to my creation of my own development company. The site being considered is not a mixed-use site. I can state this firsthand because I've been the beneficiary of prospective end users over the years who considered the Imperial site but chose to locate at my development the crossing at Telfair. The city should keep in mind it is there to help the development and redevelopment of commercial sites and not become a developer. Even though it is stated the funding for the acquisition of the land and redevelopment of the Char House will be funded through sales tax revenue, it is apparent these dollars can be allocated to more important public projects. If the city desires to create a memorable tribute to the history of Sugar Land, maybe thought should be directed toward the acquisition of just the Char House and a portion of the surrounding land and convert the Char House into a museum.
About 10 seconds, Peter.
As a banquet facility or any other number of uses. I'm requesting the consent agenda item 4B be tabled so a greater consideration be given to how best to deploy sales tax revenue toward the preservation of the Char House and solely the Char House. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, here we go. Our next guest is Caleb Patrick, and he wants to speak on item number 7C.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Caleb Kirkpatrick, and I will be speaking on Agenda Item 7C, which states the city's intention to purchase Char House, also known as the site of the former Imperial Sugar Factory. This site is the core of the history of Sugar Land. If I'm not mistaken, it is our town's very namesake. The city should take every possible step to preserve the history of the Imperial Historical District and educate the city's residents on said history. Quoting the cover sheet, Imperial Sugar created jobs and then homes, and as it grew, this economic engine was the cornerstone of our community, a company town, for generations. Sugar Land today is an economic hub for the region, trailblazing their path ahead in the pursuit of good. Over the past 20 years, there have been many private attempts to preserve this historic monument to the city. All of them have been unsuccessful. To me, this shows that private is not the path that this historic district should take. To me, this shows that the city has a responsibility to help preserve this piece of history instead of turning towards private businesses to take that responsibility. In total, this will cost $50 million with $35 million just for the land. These funds will be used for restoring the historic structures, acquiring about 45 acres of land, construction on said land, and improving the city's utilities in the area, such as water, power, etc. These funds will be sourced from the Economic Development Fund and Hotel Occupancy Tax. There is a written plan for these funds and their source. Council, I fully support this decision, and I hope you see it as a chance to preserve Sugar Land's historic legacy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Caleb. Our next guest is James Patterson, and he'd like to speak on item number 4B.
Council and Mayor, thank you for allowing me to speak on this item. Puma was our last of 3 developers that tried to develop this property, and they went from saying it would take 29 to 39 million to repurpose the Char House to the last statement in this room is north of $59 million. I'm not opposed if and only if the current staff and current and future council recognize that a hands-on approach will not change that $59 million required. After 3 developers, I strongly support replace the current Char House with the exact replica, because this same developer said he could replace it with the exact replica for $24 million instead of $60 million. We all need that Imperial Sugar sign burning, which is not right now, and it won't be. So all recognize on top of this that we went through lots of pain over the last 3 or 4 years talking about the number of multifamily dwellings that would have to be on that property to support what's going on. The community, and guys, I'm talking about the community around the Char House, the community went from we don't want any to we'll accept 330 to okay, you've got us, we get 660. Now, I'm telling you, young staff and new council and old council, don't start over again. We've agreed to that painful 660. So don't start over again with more apartments to make it, multifamily to make it go. I don't do Facebook, but there's Facebook out there says that the city is discussing paying $50 million for this property. That would be $28.90 per square foot. Now, there's lots of land that's not that expensive. We all know what Mr. Hunton paid. We all know what Denani paid. So be careful, but I don't believe that $50 million. I'm just saying, I don't trust they say it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council on one of the active agenda items? We're going to go ahead and close the public comment. We're going to move forward to the consent agenda. Item number 4. I'm going to pull 4B. I'm going to now go ahead and take a motion for A, items A and C through L. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Watley, second by Kermali. Any questions? You'll vote at this time, please. And the motion, hand vote, please. William, hand vote. It passes unanimously, 7-0. Thank you, council members. We're now going to take up item number 4B, consideration and action on City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2516, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, authorizing the city manager to acquire parcels of land in connection with the Imperial Historic District project without specific approval of the City Council and setting forth other provisions related thereto. I'm going to add to that, this is up to an amount of $35 million in accordance with the conditions that were discussed in executive session. I'll make the motion. Got a second by, I've got a motion, I've got a second by Watley. Vote at this time, please. Here we go. Hand vote, please. And it passes 6-0 with one abstention. Item number 5, donations. 5A, consideration of an action on acceptance of a donation from the Finest and Bravest Foundation in the amount of $200,000 for public safety and authorization of a budget amendment in the amount of $200,000 to revenues and expenditures. And I'm going to ask that our interim fire chief, Mark Campisi, and our chief of police, Mark Poland, come down to the front, please. We've got some special guests. We've got Scott West, Chair is Scott here. Yeah, Scott's here. Scott, KK, if you guys could please come down. Brandon Buell, Finest and Bravest Foundation, William Goff, and Mary Favre, L.M. Meridia, Lacey Chambers. Did I miss anybody? I think they've got a presentation that they want to make to Chief Campisi and Chief Poland. Scott, you want to talk? Yeah, I knew you would. Come on, there you go.
Does a one-legged duck swim in a circle? So for the second year in a row, Sugar Land has come together to support those heroes, police, fire, EMS that support us. We are so thankful that God blessed us with great weather, a great venue, a great turnout, great vision for people to come out and provide support for those that support us. And so blessings to the fire, EMS, and police departments of Sugar Land, and we're just so honored to be able to make this contribution to them.
KK, Doug, anybody? Mary, Tracy? Well, I think on behalf of the Sugar Land City Council, we want to thank y'all. Thank you for the great work that you all did. It's not easy to raise $100,000. It's really not easy to raise $200. We appreciate what you've done for our police and our fire department, and we give you all honor for that. So thank you very much. And council members, why don't you come down here? It's going to be a little, these guys are taller than everybody else.
So we get you to look into the lips. I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3, and should take care of it. So we need one more. Just a little bit. Get to know your neighbors. Friends, right? And now, even more. Let's really. There, get close. There we go. There we go. Thank you. Great work, guys.
Yeah, we do have to make a motion. So I'd like to get a motion to accept the donation. Do I have a motion?
Sir, can I make a motion to accept that donation?
Absolutely. I've got Watley. I've got Kermali. You'll vote at this time, please. And vote. And we got 7-0. Thank you, council members. Moving on to item number 6. 6A, receive for filing the fiscal year 2024 annual comprehensive financial report and auditor's opinion. We have Jing Chow, our director of finance, and Ms. Sarah Roberts with Weaver and Tidwell LLP, our auditors. Jing.
So time has flown by fast, so it's the time again. for the city to issue the audited annual financial statement for the past fiscal year. Before we start the presentation on the financial statement and the audit, please allow me to use this opportunity to acknowledge Team Finance for each of the team members for their dedication and contribution to this significant accomplishment. So here with me, we have Lori Cook, our accounts payable manager. We have Catherine Ezell, our accounting manager. We have Natasha McCoy, our payroll manager. And then we also have some other team members that cannot make to this meeting. So without their hard work, their dedication, we would not have been able to meet this deadline.
Yeah, ladies, could you stand again, please?
Thank you. All right, now, our annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ended September 30th, 2024. So local government code 103 require municipality to have its records and the books audited by a certified public accountant. And the financial statement, along with the auditor's opinion, needs to be filed with the city secretary's office. So back in June 2024, the City Council approved the engagement with Waiver to provide audit service for the fiscal year 24. On February 6th, the auditor briefed Finance Audit Committee on the audit result. And Waiver has issued an unmodified opinion, which means it's a clean opinion, on the city's financial statement for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2024. Sarah Roberts, the engagement manager, engagement partner, from Waiver, is here tonight to provide a presentation on the audit. Here, it's yours. Thank you.
Welcome back, Sarah.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for having me tonight. I have prepared a brief presentation for you. I'm going to keep things really high level. We're talking about fiscal year 2024 while you're already about 5 months into 2025, but I'm happy to take any questions or anything that you'd like to hear in more detail. I'd be happy to go into it. I'm going to start with some information about the audit, including the audit standards, audit scope, audit results, and then I'll move on to a review of the financial statements. This first slide gives you some information about our audit process as well as the audit standards that are applicable to your audit. Those standards include generally accepted auditing standards in the United States. Those are the standards that are issued by the AICPA and that are applicable to all financial audits. In addition, we have the generally accepted government auditing standards, which are supplemental and additional to those AICPA standards. Those standards are issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. So at a federal level, and those audit standards are applicable to all governmental entities. And then finally, we have the standards contained in the Uniform Guidance, which is 2 CFR 200. Those are federal requirements specifically applicable to audits of federal award compliance. These standards altogether describe an audit that's known as a single audit. A single audit is a type of audit that's been applicable to your entity. These standards require that we take a risk-based approach to our audit, which includes considering internal controls and also compliance requirements that are applicable and relevant to the financial statements, as well as to federal awards. We complete substantive testing procedures that are responsive to our risk assessment and to our identified risks related to the financial statements and compliance. And then finally, we issue our auditor's reports, which include an opinion on the financial statements and compliance, as well as reporting on internal controls and compliance. So here I've summarized those reports and the results of our audits. As Jing already mentioned, we issued clean opinions on the financial statements, also clean opinions on compliance. Those are unmodified opinions, which are the highest level of assurance that we can provide as external auditors that your financial statements are free from material misstatement. In our reporting on internal controls, we did not identify any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls. If we had identified such items, we would be required to include them in our reports as well as communicate them to you. Regarding compliance, we did not identify any instances of material noncompliance. And our major federal program for purposes of our federal compliance audit was ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act. This is the $11 million that the city received in fiscal years 2021 and 2022 that has been expended over the last few years and has been therefore subject to the compliance audit scope. And with that, I'll go into the financial statement review component of my presentation. I'll start with the statement of net position. This is the city's balance sheet. It's the first financial statement in the financial section of the ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. If you have a book in front of you, it's page 19 of the hard copy or page 37 of the PDF if you want to take a look at it. But this is the balance sheet of all of the city's funds, all of the individual funds rolled up into a single consolidated presentation. And I've included on this slide a very highly summarized view of this, as well as comparison to fiscal year 2023. Most of the city's financial statements comprise fund-level financial statements. So you'll see the general fund, debt service fund, capital projects fund, all the special revenue funds, utility, airport, et cetera. But these first couple of financial statements roll all of the funds up into one presentation so you can see the city as a whole. Looking at this in comparative view, you can see general consistency with assets, liabilities, and net position being the equity, essentially, of the entity, all increasing from the previous year by 5 to 7%. So general view of consistency. Next, I'll move more specifically into the general fund. The general fund is the main operating fund of the city. And I've included here 5 years of information, with fiscal year 2024 being the most recent. These numbers are in thousands. So I've got a chart as well as a graph showing the revenues and expenditures and fund balance for the last 5 years. Couple things to note regarding revenues. The main driver of the change here from the previous year is property taxes and sales taxes. Fiscal year 2024 saw an increase of those two revenue streams of about $6 million. Increases in expenditures over the prior fiscal year, mostly driven by compensation and benefits. Your compensation and benefits comprise about 70% of the general fund's expenditures. So you have merit increases, CPI increases, increases in overall number of FTEs. Those will show up in your general fund and you'll see the expenditures there. Unassigned fund balance was 41% of fiscal year 24 actual expenditures. If you compare that to the projected fiscal year 2025 budget, it's 40%. So that's almost 5 months of expenditures. Your financial management policy requires 3 months of expenditures in unassigned fund balance, so you're well over that minimum required threshold. The change in fund balance you can see really with this chart here, with the orange line representing revenues steadily increasing over year, and then the gray line representing expenditures. You can see fiscal year 2024, the expenditures exceeded revenues by an actual amount on a GAAP basis of about $2.4 million. That compares to the budgeted decrease in fund balance, which was a $6.5 million decrease. So what happened here, you had revenues about 1% over budget, expenditures about 2% under budget, so you end up with a decrease in fund balance, which is less than your planned or budgeted decrease. Lastly, I'll conclude with just a couple of points of expectations for next year. ARPA was our major program this last year. We expect that ARPA will remain your major program for next year as you continue to expend those remaining funds. And in addition, we expect that state compliance will likely be in scope with the Texas Water Development Board grant that you received in fiscal year 2024 and will continue to expend over the next few years. Lastly, there were no new accounting standards with a significant impact this last fiscal year 2024, but we do have one on the agenda for 25, which is compensated absences. This will be applicable to the city, but we expect the impact to be really minor. So nothing groundbreaking there. So lastly, I just would like to thank you again for your time tonight and your support, and also want to thank your finance team for a really smooth audit. I've kept it really high level tonight, but I don't want to downplay how much this process is arduous and is demanding on your staff. So we've been met every step of the way with nothing but professionalism and transparency, and we just really appreciate the collaboration throughout the process. And I know it's been a lot of late nights for everybody, and hopefully this wraps it up. So again, thank you very much, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Somebody from the Finance Audit Committee, would you all like to address? I know you guys were involved. You got to hear from it first. Stuart?
Yeah, we questioned Jing and Sarah mercilessly, and the committee again was very content that the audit was performed professionally, and we're very pleased with the outcome. I don't think this is an action item, but
It's not an action item.
okay. But yes, we're all good with it.
Anyone else? Questions of Sarah?
I simply agree with Stuart. She is extremely thorough. Her team is relentless, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
And thank you, staff. Item number 7, ordinance is resolution 7A, first and final consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2367. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, amending the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget for the City of Sugar Land, Texas, to provide that the revised budget address funds relating to certain capital and operating budget matters, and that this amendment be adopted as the budgeted amount for those funds. Shalay Stedman, our budget director. Shalay?
Hello. Good evening. I am here, like stated, it's to talk about carryovers. Just a little bit of background on that. The budget is adopted annually prior to the beginning of each fiscal year and can be amended as needed. Carryovers are those expenditures that were budgeted in the prior year, but we have yet to receive those goods or services. So as the appropriations lapsed at the end of the close of the fiscal year, we have to reauthorize those carryovers into the new current budget. So a quick look at our major funds, first being the general fund. As Sarah stated, we ended fiscal year 24 better by about 4.01 million, which is reflected in that change of the beginning fund balance. However, much of that is unspent carryovers of the 2.63. So as you can see, we are ending with the revised budget is at 33.38 million from the 32.41. So we're ending higher than projected. The second fund we're going to look at is our utility fund. We ended fiscal year 24 better by 6.21 million, which is reflected in that change of the beginning balance. And we're adding 3 million back in for carryovers, one for encumbered POs and contracts, and about 2 million for operating projects that were either unfinished or delayed in fiscal year 24. Overall, our revised ending fund balance is up from when the budget was adopted a few months ago, from 34.8 to 38.07. Lastly, the fund we're going to look at closely is our airport fund. We ended fiscal year 24 better by 530,000, which is reflected in that beginning balance as well. We are adding 900,000 back in for carryovers from encumbered POs and contracts. So the fund balance is down from the budget was adopted a few months ago from 9.3 to 8.9. The other funds that have carryover items include the American Rescue Plan Act Fund, otherwise known as ARPA. This has 3.87 million in unspent funding for projects. All of this funding has been committed to projects and must be spent. So we are recommending carrying over the remaining balance of that. We have or $9,700 for our debt service fund. The high-tech replacement fund has a carryover of about $152,000 for equipment ordered but not yet received. Our opioid litigation settlement fund, we carry over the remaining balance of the $20,000. And then the public art fund, this fund was established in fiscal year '23, and we're carrying over that remaining balance of $1.01 million. And lastly, our stormwater fund for contracts not yet completed for $290,000. And lastly, we recommend the approval of ordinance number 2367, amending the fiscal year budget to reflect the carryover funding from fiscal year '24. Any questions?
I got a motion by Stewart. Let me go ahead and get this, Suzanne. Do I have a second? Got a second by McCutcheon. Suzanne?
Yes, I have a question. Can you go back to the second slide back? There we go. The ARPA funds?
Yep, sorry.
There we are. The ARPA funds, the $3,874,841. What's the expiration on that? Is there an expiration since they're in use, or?
Yes, we have to spend it all by December of fiscal year '26.
Is that something we can do?
Yes,
I'm
we have
sure
it all planned out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think the question is it committed? It is committed.
Right.
So committed, then it's programmed.
It's already in use. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I've got a motion by Stewart Jacobson. I've got a second by Carol McCutcheon. If you'll vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. There you go, council members. Thank you. Item number B, consideration of action on City of Sugar Land Resolution number 2511. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, declaring the necessity for acquiring by condemnation easements to 21 parcels of land in the Battle Survey, abstract number 9, as more particularly described and shown in exhibits A through T, for improvements to the new territory wastewater treatment plant in connection with CIP number CWW 2309 for wastewater improvements. Brian Norton, our real property manager. Brian.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Come before you today to ask for approval for Resolution 2511 for Track 2 wastewater improvements CIP project CWW 2309. We'll start off a little bit on this project and do a little bit of background on it. This project is to serve some future developments that we have coming in on Track 2, which is north of Highway 90, north of New Territory development. I think it's west of Easton Avenue. Those developments would be a residential development, also an industrial development plan for Track 2. This project also would benefit some existing city improvements that we have out there, our fire department and our PD training facility. With this project, it's going to be a force main that we're going to install from Track 2 down, and it's going to extend down through New Territory to our west wastewater treatment plant. On this slide here, it actually gives you a visual of the project location and the limits of the project itself. You can see with the green line, it kind of extends just north of 90 there, west of Easton Avenue, goes across 90, and then it extends west along 90, and then it extends south through New Territory, just south of Homeward Way, where we will be tying into our west wastewater treatment plant. That's a tongue twister. A little bit of the project scope. With this project, we'll be installing 3,600 linear feet of force main. And along with this project, we will be acquiring 21 parcels of land to be able to install those that force main. A little bit of just like any other project that has improvements that you're placing across parcels of land, acquisition is involved. That being said, to kind of lay out a little bit of the acquisition process, we always start out with a public notice. We send out a letter to all the landowners, letting them know, kind of informing them of what the project is, what we're planning to do, and when we're planning to do it. Once they're informed, we would do an initial contact letter, and then after that, we would do an appraisal on the properties. What that means is we're going to go on and we're going to value all the properties to see what fair market value is. After we see what the fair market value is, we'll review it. We'll send it out to the landowners along with a offer letter for the landowner to review. They usually got about 35, 40 days to review that. Once they review it, we move forward with acquisition, either two routes. Part of that is, they can accept the offer, the city can purchase the property, we can move forward. If an offer is not accepted, then the city is able to exercise its rights. It's usually a case that doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. So with this resolution here, 2511, it's a public necessity, which allows the city to move forward with the acquisition process. And the next steps of this process would be to approve this resolution and then continue the acquisition process as far as making offers and final offers as needed. And the next slide here kind of goes over the resolution itself. I'm not going to read it. Mayor kind of went over it to start with. It just states basically that we're declaring, this project a public necessity. We're going to acquire 21 parcels of land. It gives you a location of where it's at. And it states for what project this public necessity is attached to. All we have left is to request approval for Resolution 2511. Staff recommends approval of it, 2511, and which is declaring the necessity of acquiring easements by condemnation related to Track 2 wastewater improvements, Project CIP CWW 2309. And we're open for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brian. Questions of Brian? Najad?
Brian, thank you for the presentation. Along 90, the TxDOT is doing some widening of the roads and stuff. This won't affect any construction that they're doing there?
No, sir. We have looked and actually looked at some of the plans that TxDOT is coming down the pipe with, and we have designed this project to avoid any kind of mishaps we may have or any improvements they may be installing or widening they may be doing as far as right-of-way.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mayor.
Got a motion by Kamali. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second by Ferguson. Vote this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Item number C, consideration and action on City of Sugar Land Resolution number 2515, authorizing publication of notice of intent to issue certificates of obligation. We have with us Jing Chow, our Director of Finance. Jing.
Good evening again. So this item is on Resolution 2515, authorizing publication of the notice of intent to issue certificates of obligation for the Imperial project. So redeveloping Imperial Historical District has been the city's top priority. This project has made significant progress and funding needs has been identified. So the plan or proposal is to issue certificates of obligation with a principal amount not to exceed $50 million. And this fund will be used for restoration of the structure within the district. The breakdown of the amount is land acquisition, $35 million, char house preservation for $5 million, and other related capital expenses, about $6 million, and a contingency, $4 million. So total, $50 million. So by state law, the state law requires the city to adopt a resolution to authorize the staff to publish a notice on this intent, the city's intent to issue this CO. So Resolution 2515 is to serve this purpose. And the notice of the intent is Exhibit A of this resolution. This notice will be published on Fort Bend Independent once a week for 2 weeks consecutively. So the first publication by requirement, it must be 45 days prior to the tentative sale day. And this notice also needs to be posted on the city's website for 45 days minimum. Prior actions also is Finance Audit Committee. We briefed the committee on February 6th. We outlined the project and the calendar for this CO. The tentative sale day is April 15th, 2025, and the fund delivery will be in May 2025 with maximum aggregate principal amount of $50 million. So staff recommend the City Council to approve resolution number 2515, which is to authorizing publication of notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation.
Thank you, Jane. Questions? I'm going to make a comment. Earlier, it was mentioned that we shouldn't be in the development business, and we have no intention of being in the development business. We have, by actions that council took and will take, I think now, we've authorized to purchase land. The plan is to solicit private developers, those that have the qualifications to do a mixed-use development, much like what you see here at Sugar Land Town Center. And then for that land to roll back on the tax rolls, and for Sugar Land and the residents to benefit from both ad valorem taxes as well as sales and use taxes. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion to approve this item. Got a second by Watley. Do I have any other questions? Vote this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. Thank you, Shane. We're going to move now to item number 8. City Council, City Manager reports. 8A, City Council members reports. Nishad, let's start with you.
Thank you, Mayor. Last Thursday night, I had the privilege of going to Rice University in Houston, where one of our residents, Fareed and Asha Virani, have donated a substantial amount of money to name the School of Business, the undergrad School of Business, and now it's called the Virani Undergraduate School of Business, and I want to congratulate them on their fantastic philanthropic donation to Rice University. Many, many students are going to benefit from that. And last weekend, Carol, myself, William attended the STEAM Multicultural Fest at the Harmony School. And I want to congratulate Principal Afreen Merchant and the entire team for putting on a great event that morning. That's it.
Carol.
Thank you. I attended the Wild Weather grand opening at the Houston Museum of Natural Science, and this is an exhibit that the city has sponsored, and a lot of school children are going to benefit from this, so I'm excited about that. And I was the guest speaker at the Unical Alumni Lunch. So I actually sort of gave a version of Sugar Land 101 for about 45 minutes, and then I got another 20 minutes of questions. So people were really interested in how the City of Sugar Land government operates. And then also attended the G Family Association's Chinese New Year celebration and the Scholarship Fund banquet. And that was a really great evening.
Thank you, Carol. Stuart.
Thank you, Mayor. I did a lot of things in the last 2 weeks that I prefer not to mention. But the best thing that I did, and William and I both attended, we went to the Sugar Land Police Department promotional ceremony where we had one graduate and 4 or 5 lateral hires from other departments, and those are always great. The families are there and everybody's so proud, and so are we.
Thanks, Stuart. Suzanne.
Thank you. I spent Valentine's Day at the Transportation Policy Council workshop, so that was awesome.
Jennifer.
Just have a shout out to our police department. Saw an advertisement come through on social media that we're offering free classes to law enforcement and courtroom personnel for mental health training. And I want to congratulate Officer Moreno for her appointment as the Vice President of the Texas Crisis Intervention Team Association. Officer Moreno and Officer Cruz will be conducting these free trainings, and I want to congratulate the city for taking the lead on this, because there's been a lot of other movement within the county on this topic, and it's extremely important. And once again, the city is leading in this area, and I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Jennifer. William.
Mayor, going back to what Stuart said on the promotions of our police officer, I would like to bring up that one of our police officers was, he grew up here in Sugar Land, went to high school here in Sugar Land, went off to the military, came back, and now he's serving our city, and I thought that was pretty cool. Off that note, there's a young man in our city, his name is Austin Castro. Many of you have probably never met Austin Castro, but he is working on his Eagle Scout badge, and he found a cemetery here in Sugar Land that is long forgotten. It's called the Pickens Cemetery. It's in Greatwood, and it's an acre, and with the help of equipment from the University of Houston, he is locating all of those remains that are on that 1 acre, and he is raising the funds to put a grave marker to the unknown on that grave, in that cemetery for that grave. And I got to tell you, I love our Eagle Scouts because they just do it over and over and over, and I'm proud of them all. Thank you, Austin Castro.
Thank you, William. Mike, I'm going to yield to you. Item number 8B, City Manager Report.
Yeah, Mayor, I was also at that police hiring ceremony promotional, and I just want to commend the council. Y'all made a decision to invest historically in public safety personnel, and when every city in this region is struggling to hire people, we're able to get the best of the best, and that directly affects our residents. And so that was a historic decision by this council, and it's one that's paying off greatly. Thank you.
I forgot.
Stuart.
I also wanted to mention the promotion of Sergeant Tactical Panda.
Well, thanks for that, Stuart. Carol, do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn at 6:15. Thank you, council members. I don't know what that is.
Oh, yeah, I was there.
I don't know what that is, but okay.